Oh, Father God, oh, how excellent, God, is your name in all the earth, Lord. Father, the heavens declare your glory, Father. God, we thank you, God, for all the things, God, that you've done in our lives, God. And we thank you, God, for the things that you will do, Lord. We praise you, God. Now, Lord, we lift up, oh God, the service to you, Lord. And we pray, Father, in the name of Jesus, that you would invoke your presence, Lord God, upon it, Lord. Father God, we pray, Lord God, that you would move by your Spirit, God, in the midst of your people, Lord. Father, we pray, Lord God, for the speaker, Lord God. We ask, God, that, Lord God, that you would, Lord, use him, God. God, speak to him, God, and speak through him, Father. Father, let the word, Lord God, fall on good ground in our lives, Lord. That it would bring forth fruit, some 30, 60, and 100-fold, Father. Now, Lord, we thank you, Father. We thank you, Father, for our pastor, Lord. We continually lift them up to your throne, God. And we pray, Father, that you would continue to, Lord God, let your anointing rest upon him, Father. And, oh, God, whatever you do, Lord God, on today, Lord. God, whatever you do, Lord, we're going to be so careful to give you all the praise, all the honor, and all the glory. For it all belongs to you, Father. It's in Jesus' name we pray, dear God. Amen and amen. Thank you, Lord. Amen. Can we just give God some praise tonight for revival? Can we just take about 20 seconds just to give God a praise for revival? How many of you know that if it had not been for the Lord who was on our side, where would we be? Anybody glad that it's revival time? Anybody glad that it's revival time in the house? Amen. Strong says, you are my strength. Strength like no other. Strength like no other. Reaches to me. You are my strength. Strength like no other. Strength like no other reaches to me. Why don't you help us sing it? You are my strength. You are my strength. Strength like no other. Strength like no other. And it reaches. You are my strength. You are my strength. Hey, strength like no other. Strength like no other. And of the land that it reaches. Oh, in the fullness. In the power of your name. You lift me up. I thank you, Lord, for lifting me up. You lift me up. In the fullness. In the power of your name. You lift me up. Higher and higher and higher. You are my hope. Anybody need God's hope? Hope like no other. Hope like no other. And of the land that it reaches. You are my peace. You are my peace. Peace like no other. God gives the peace that surpasses anything Like nobody else can do it, Jesus. Whoa.
subject on tonight, how to make it when no one understands what you're going through. How to make it when no one understands what you're going through. Job chapter 8. Then Bildad, the Shuhite, replied to Job, how long are you going to go on like this? You sound like a blustering wind. Does God twist justice? Does the Almighty twist what is right? It says in verse 4, you must have done something. Your children must have sinned against you. So their punishment was well deserved. Verse 5, but if you pray to God and seek the favor of the Almighty, and if you're pure and you live right with integrity, surely he might raise up and restore your happy home. Through this, though you started with little, you will end with much. Makes sense. How to make it. No one understands what you're going through. How many have been there? Perhaps you are there when the stresses and misunderstandings of life have made you question God. What is the purpose of what I'm going through? And then God, why did you choose me to go through it? I mean, I know you're a sovereign God. I know you have your mind made up. I know that there is purpose in all things. But why would you choose me when I'm coming to church now? Coming to Bible study now. I'm tithing now. I'm not cussing and fussing as much. I'm not messing with the same people I used to mess with. God, you know I've been trying to walk with you, talk with you. You know that I'll shout for you, although my nature is to be reserved. You know I'll even dance and I don't have any rhythm. You know that I'll clap and I don't even have rhythm. But for some strange reason, with the way I love you, with the way I've turned my life around, God, you chose me to deal with the financial problems. God, I'm the one struggling with fear and depression when the world seems fearless. And then you're the type of God that forces me to lean on you because no one around me understands what I'm going through. The spouse thinks she knows it, but she don't get it. Husband thinks you're mad and bitter, but he don't get it. Mom and dad trying to cure it, but they can't even diagnose it. There's some people in here tonight, God sent you to revival on purpose because the more you try to explain, the more confused people seem to get. As a matter of fact, when some of us start explaining our situations, we get confused. I wish I had a witness here. Can I tell you, brothers and sisters, that here's a good reason to shout. You're not going to be able to explain what you go through, but you do serve a God that will help you get through what you can't explain. Is there a testimony tonight that can testify? God didn't explain what he made me go through it, but at least he brought me through it. Can I tell you, that's why the enemy was so interested in Job, because he knew that Job had what it took to get through what he couldn't explain. You know Job, don't you? He was a wealthy man. As a matter of fact, the narrative says in chapter 1 that you have put a wall of protection around him and his home. And it's a strange thing how people hate, brothers and sisters, to see folks who are totally secure in God. I mean, you say stuff like, yeah, I know it's bad, but God's going to make a way. See, people don't like that. And when you find your refuge and your strength in God, it makes you a good candidate to trust God. And anybody can say that they love God, but not everybody can say that they trust God. And here we are tonight. God is confronting you with that situation that you face. Listen, I know you love me, but do you really trust me? Do you really trust me, AJ, when I take your 28-year-old nephew away from you that you grew up like brothers? Come on, somebody. And somebody can testify, after all I've been through, I just don't love God, but I sure enough trust him. Come on. After I was the faithful employee that was laid off, after getting up as a single parent going to work, and somehow I still had gas in my car, still could get my kids what they needed for sports. That's the kind of character that was locked in Job. He had the same character when he had everything, but he also had the same character when he lost everything. And God's test for somebody tonight is, I know that you're going to be good when everything is all good, but how do you act when I take away some of those things that you desire and that you need? Will you still worship me when you have to deal with worry? Will you still dance when you have to deal with death and depression? Will you still believe when you have to deal with betrayal? Will you still have faith when you have a lack in your finances? Can you still dream when life gives you detours? Will you still fulfill your calling when folks act funny and you can't call on them anymore? Will you still lead when you can't lean on anybody? Can I just go ahead and help somebody and let you know that you are anointed tonight to get through what nobody else understands? And is there a praise in the house tonight that I don't know why I'm going through what I'm going through, but the saints of old have taught me a good lesson. I will trust in the Lord until I die. Somebody shout today that even though I can't see him, I can't trace him, I can't track him, but I still love him. Job has been summoned, thank you, by the divine sovereignty of God to be tested as the adversary tries to get him to turn his back on God, tries to get him to stop believing, tries to get him to betray God. Satan was sure that if God took all that he had, he wouldn't curse God. You know the story, brothers and sisters. Death took Job's children, Job's finances, and even he started to have deteriorating health. Job's closest relative at the time was his wife. And she tried to stir up his pride because he was in an unfavorable position and because she didn't see anything in the present nor the future. Can I tell you that your greatest attack when you're going through something nobody understands can maybe coming from the person you hang with every day? Maybe the person in your own house. Job rebuked his wife, and after she told him to curse God and die, he firmly tells her that she was talking like a foolish woman. Let me tell you, it's not a spooky thing. It's not a scary thing. But there's some folks you just going to have to look at them and say, I rebuke you in Jesus' name. Come on, you ain't got to cuss nobody out. You ain't got to act like get out of character. You ain't got to give somebody a piece of your mind. You're giving them too much attention. I rebuke you in Jesus' name. I'm on my way to getting what God has for me. Nobody understands what you're going through. You're going to have to deal with some foolish people. And believe it or not, I'm going to get to this text, some of us who are connected to people who are going through, if the truth be told, we get tired of folks going through. And sometimes I get tired of your storm. Help me somebody. And if that person is next to you tonight, don't just keep your head forward, but be honest tonight. Even I get tired of you always having something going wrong with you. And because we get tired and we get drained, we have no choice but to love people through what they're going through. But let me tell you, I can't lose myself when you losing yourself. Somebody got to stay put together. Now, that I don't love you, not that I'm not trying to understand, but if I don't keep me, I can't lose me in your mess. I got my own mess to deal with. Help me somebody here. Job lost his family. The Bible mentions he had 3 friends. And let me tell you, if you get one good friend in life, you're blessed. If you got 2 good friends, count it a miracle. They were 2 type of friends, 3 type of friends. And they were the type of friends that when they showed up, they noticed how bad he looked. And when they saw the position that Job was in, he was on the ground. And maybe in your life, you've had to deal with some ground situations. And if you could get in a position to describe where your life is tonight, maybe it's in a fetal position. Because you're waiting for God to pick you up and take you away from what you're going through. Oh, brothers and sisters, sometimes we get so low in life that some of us are living life dead. Oh, his friends came and sat down, and he had the type of friends that the record reads that they sat down for 7 days and nights without a word to Job. I'm not even in my points, but sometimes when you don't understand what I'm going through, you think that you have the answers when all I need you to do is just be there and pray for me. Don't be the person in your life who's connected to somebody and they're going through and you try to give them answers. Help me somebody. Job's friends saw him. They were overtaken by what he saw. He says, why am I even here? Job, because of his suffering and affliction, became the friend that was going through something so severe that he simply hated life. He said, my days have no meaning. Most people don't know what it's like to get to the point of go through a situation in life or tired of some things changing, and you say, my days have no meaning. When you're called to something, everything has a purpose. The real issue is that folks who have no calling or purpose will never be able to make it through what they don't understand. And perhaps the vehicle that you need tonight is not for answers to be made, but maybe you just need to ask God, what is my purpose? Because when I operate in my purpose, I understand that sometimes purpose is accompanied by pain. He teaches us when no one understands what you're going through, the enemy loves to create opponents out of your friends. And I'm not making this up. It's in the Bible. Job's friends, what you see in the passage, is they begin to try to rationalize why he was going through what he was going through. Job's testing is so severe that his friends were using human wisdom and their own personal interest in changing the situation to try to interpret a divine process. And questions begin to emerge. And what we read in the passage was, how can God be righteous and allow righteous people to suffer? I mean, what did you do? What evil have you committed? You haven't mistreated anybody. Who have you misused? Who possessions have you taken? And somebody here is saying, listen, I've committed no evil against friends. I haven't really taken anything. But what do you do when you haven't turned your back on God? You haven't hurt anyone. You haven't made anyone sick. You haven't caused anybody suffering. You've been good in your relationship. You've been faithful. You've been the one victimized after you treated everybody the best way possible. Job was this man. What do you do when people want an explanation you can't give them? Somebody here, stop trying to explain what you don't even understand. How you going to explain? You don't owe anybody an explanation. Job teaches us you can't give folks an explanation, and God hasn't given you one. Stop trying to explain what God himself has yet to explain to you. Grandmama's reply was simple. We'll understand it better. Somebody's got my grandmother. Amen. He's got explanations from all his friends. And they say, God has got to be just. I mean, he must be just. You can't be just living like this for no reason. You can't have just experienced this for no reason. Can I tell you first tonight that if you're going to make it when no one understands what you're going through, first thing I want you to write down tonight, if you can or remember, is first be aware that there will be some resentment. When you're trying to get through when nobody understands what you're going through, there will be some resentment. Bill Dad says, how long will you go on like this? And he says, listen, you sound like a blistering wind. When Bill Dad looked at his position, Joe's position, he got angry. You think that God would do something intentionally to hurt you. He resented the fact that he could not talk some sense into his friend Job. He resented that Job didn't totally concede to the plight of his position. And when you're trying to make it through what nobody understands what you're going through, sometimes people will force you to accept what they want you to accept. Job teaches us that outside of sowing and reaping in life, there are some times in life when God just gives you a test without any explanation. Bill Dad said, God afflicts this type of stuff on people who have done things wrong. And that he wouldn't do this to you without you doing anything wrong. But I believe I'm looking at about 300 or 400 people who have done some good things in their life. And something bad totally came out of it. Have I allowed church tonight? God is just, but he also mentions a God of love and mercy. And sometimes on the pathway to increase, you've got to know that some will resent you or your situation because they don't understand the magnitude of God's hand in the situation. And when the resentment from your friends begins or your family, God will begin to reveal himself, but you've got to make sure that you don't allow it to hinder you even more in the process. Yes, there will be some resentment for those who you've trusted and trust. Maybe mama, maybe daddy, maybe friends. But next, they're going to make it when nobody understands what you're going through. You're going to have to, second of all, remember never to embrace ungodly reasoning. Don't embrace ungodly reasoning. Now, if you read your word, you know that God reigns on the just as well as the unjust. The world has made God or taken God out of context. Because our word teaches us God never said every day was going to be a good day. Come on, somebody. He reigns on the just as well as the unjust. Man is born of a few days, and those days are full of trouble. Stop walking around here like you can't experience some pain in this life. Don't forget what Sunday school taught you. Don't try to make your God into the world's God. Let me tell you, sometimes in this life, you're going to hurt from stuff that you don't understand. Don't let anybody pronounce damnation over you when they themselves don't have a heaven or hell to put you in. Some of us try to say, yeah, he went through that because of that. But let me tell you, you got to be careful about that. You can't say somebody is experiencing suffering, amen, for something that they've done. They may be, but if they were, you wouldn't really know it. Help me, somebody. His friend Bildad is the accountant here. He doesn't understand why so much affliction is on him. So here it is. He embraced ungodly reasoning. It's in verse 4. Look what he says. Your children must have sinned against you, so their punishment is well deserved. And some of us will embrace an ungodly reasoning because we're looking for a reason. Some folks think that when God gives you or when people give you, some of us would rather have a reason than to just sit back and admit, God, I don't understand. So we'll accept anything from our situation. Bildad was his friend. He said, listen, your children must have did something. Let me tell you, when people do that, they're operating way out of their jurisdiction. And some of us are so weak that we'll embrace what mama or daddy said. Even though they love us, they still may be wrong. Come on, we'll begin to break down and say, well, I know God isn't doing this to me for no reason. I must have done something wrong. And part of the reason is a lot of us experience this is because when we do go through things that we don't understand, because we're not in the Word enough, we have to accept somebody else's word because we don't know the Word for ourselves. Because Job knew God for himself, he didn't have to accept what Bildad said. You don't know my story. Come on. All the things I've been through, you can't feel my pain, what I had to go through to get. You'll never understand my praise, so don't try to figure it out because my worship is for real. Job has to deal with the pain even when situation doesn't yield a reason. He's got to have some doubts in his mind, but the justice of God prevails. But sometimes, brothers and sisters, the penalty of a righteous life is given through some testing that will push you to defend God, even when others try to blame you for what God has chosen you to be tested for. The worst thing you can do is try to reason with others as to why you're in the situation that you're in. If Job would embrace ungodly reasoning, that could have led him further away from God. Reasoning did not accurately interpret why he experienced the agony. Bildad was his friend, so he probably knew that Job's children were a pressure point. Job was always offering sacrifice, and sometimes when people make up reasoning, they think that they're helping, but they're really hurting. God permitted you to go through this for a reason. Oh, but when folks try to act like they know what's going on, always remember, brothers and sisters, as MacArthur says, that the wicked receive God's just condemnation, but the righteous always receive his undeserved mercy. Help me somebody. Amen. All of my good days, if I put them on the same scale with my bad days, my good days outweigh my bad days. I won't complain. Or finally tonight, if you're going to make it when no one understands what you're going through, yeah, you're going to face some resentment. You got to remember not to embrace ungodly reasoning. But finally, here it is. I must be careful not to take the wrong advice. We'll be resentment. Some people will give ungodly reasoning. But then after that, you got to be careful not to take the wrong advice. The wrong advice in misunderstood situations can make things worse. Job's friend Bildad gives him some good advice, but it's the wrong advice. He says in verse 5, because I know you missed it, he says, but if you pray to God and seek the favor of the Almighty, and if you are pure and live with integrity, he will surely rise up and restore your happy home. And he says, though you started out with little, you will end up with much. Now that's good advice. You read it too quickly. That's good advice. But it's the wrong advice. It's the wrong content. It's the wrong application. The text shows us that when no one understands what you're going through, they'll try to prescribe a solution without knowing the diagnosis. I got some friends like that. How about you? I know you can't explain it, but God can't explain it to me. Look what he said. Job's friends begged him to repent. But Job says, I didn't do anything wrong. Can I tell somebody? Stop saying sorry for stuff you didn't do. Stop living a life in depression and downness when simply you went through some things, and I'm talking to somebody in your childhood that you didn't understand, and it wasn't your fault. Am I talking to anybody here? You don't have to do anything wrong to be the victim of somebody else's sin. Stop taking the wrong advice. And I'm talking to that young girl here tonight. I was in prayer today. I'm talking to that girl tonight who was touched when she was a child. I want to tell you, they said you were fast. They said you was this. The devil is a liar. Somebody had a problem in your house. And in Jesus' name tonight, I set you free. That you don't have to embrace ungodly reasoning. And I'm talking to somebody else in here. Your childhood wasn't the best. Your teens wasn't the best. Your 20s wasn't the best. And you went through some horrible stuff in your life. But God is here tonight to set you free. You don't have to take the wrong advice. Let me tell you, you are a testimony that God got me through something that tried to kill me. But thanks be to God, it didn't work. I'm still here. I'm still alive and well. God allowed me to make it when others around me were trying to hurt. Or somebody needs to take a flashback and go down memory lane and testify. God brought me through being the victim of somebody else's sin. God brought me through a situation I didn't understand. And thank God I didn't take the wrong advice. What does this teach us? Sometimes God uses conflict to confront and convict others of his will. That you don't owe Satan an apology for something that God has everything to deal with. Folks will try to get you friends with the devil. If you do something wrong, yes, by all means, apologize. But when you know that there is something that God is trying to use, you don't have to explain. You don't have to justify what you know God is ultimately using for his glory. Stop being distracted by what you're going through that you don't understand. And let God's purpose in your life consume you. And get you some meaning out of all the hell you've been through. Can I tell you, when you take good medicine for the wrong symptoms and sickness, you end up being worse. Job teaches us when no one understands what you're going through. It may be some good advice, but the wrong advice. I'm in my seat, brothers and sisters, because the good news is tonight that even when no one understands what I'm going through, God has the power to give me more than what I've lost. Clap your hands if you know I'm right. Since I've been going through the worst afflictions of my life, many of you know that eventually God gave Job his increase. He gave him double for what he had before. His friends thought that he would only receive restoration if he said sorry for something he didn't do. Or when no one understands what you're going through, God has a way of elevating us when he has to eliminate those things and people close to us. Loss and death is not an easy thing. Death and separation is not an easy thing. Oh, brothers and sisters, you may not be able to control what you go through. Amen. But you do control how you go through it. Is there anybody here that can testify? I couldn't control what I went through. But thank God he got me to a place where he helped me get through it with some control. Job's testimony is that when you're going through, your greatest loss can be your greatest gain. I'm talking to somebody tonight. I declare by faith that your greatest loss in life will be your greatest gain. Job said, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, but blessed be the name of the Lord. When no one understands what you're going through, you got to handle resentment. You've got to refuse the wrong advice. Oh, brothers and sisters, they resented Jesus. The same Jesus they celebrated. Then they shouted, crucify him. Many refused Jesus. His opponents on the cross tried to give him the wrong advice, saying, if you be God, come down and save yourself. No one understood what Jesus was going through. But even though he didn't accept their reasoning, he still said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And this is a lesson, amen, in reconciliation. Somebody here tonight has gone through something they couldn't explain, but they've got to forgive a person that hasn't said sorry yet, because you getting through what you can't explain is not about you giving that person power over you, but it's about forgiving them even when they didn't ask for apology. Have I got a witness here? He said, if the Lord, amen, Jesus said, if the Lord is willing, let this cup pass for me. But nevertheless, he said, not my will, but thine be done. I'm on my way to my seat. But Job's testimony is true tonight. He's been to hell and back. But thank God, as an old preacher said, he gave him a round trip ticket. Is there anybody here? You've been to hell and back. But the testimony is God gave me a round trip ticket. I'm going to my seat tonight. But I want to tell you some things. I'm not a botanist by any means, but they tell me that you have annual flowers and they have biennial, amen, flowers. And they said that those type of flowers, you plant them for one season, and that's all you get out of them. And then biennial flowers, they say you plant those, and you may get 2 seasons out of them. But then you got perennial flowers that you can plant those one time, and after all of the winters, after all of the summers, after all of the falls, they keep on sprouting again. And I've come to tell somebody tonight, you know how you're going to make it, because you're like that perennial flower. You keep on sprouting again. Is there anybody here that's been through something in your life and you kept on sprouting again? They talked about you being pregnant out of wedlock, but you sprouted again. They lied on you, but you sprouted again. They told stories about your family, but you sprouted again. Shake the neighbor's hand and tell a neighbor tonight, I will sprout again. Anybody here know you're going to sprout again? I know you're going through the winters of life, but you will sprout again. I'm going to come back tonight, even though I have to get through what nobody understands. I thank God I will sprout again. Do I got some witnesses tonight that can stand to your to my voice. Y'all gonna help me preach. Look up toward heaven and say, Lord, I thank you for helping me sprout again. I should have been dead. After all the hell I've been through, I should have lost my mind when they said I did something that I didn't do. But you let me sprout again. Shout yes! Shout yeah! Shout yeah! Clap your hands and give them praise. I'm looking at some folks who I was gonna tear down, but it won't work because you will sprout again. Shout yes! I vow to praise you. Come on, church. Through the good and the bad, I'll praise you. You can make it through when nobody understands. We ain't Lord. Yeah. Oh, what I do. I want you to praise God tonight because you made it through something you didn't understand. The fact that you're here tonight is a testimony that God can help anybody make it through what they don't understand. Do I have a witness tonight? Praise, it's what I do. Even when I'm going through, I've learned to worship. I've learned to worship you because you know my circumstance. You know my circumstance. It don't even stand a chance. My praise outweighs the bad. Come on, hit me choir. I vow to pray. Come on, worship him tonight. It's all right to lift your hand tonight. Hallelujah. When I'm happy or sad, that's what people who praise God in all that I go through. Come on, help me cry, come on. Praise is what I do. Yeah. Come on, praises, come on. Praises. Come on, lift your voice tonight. Tell the Lord, thank you for helping me make it. Thank you, Father. Come on, lift up worship in this house. Come on, give God the fruit of your lips. Bless the Lord at all times. Good times, bad times. Oh, it's what I do. Hallelujah. It's what I do. It's what I do. That's how I made it. Praise His praise. It's what I do. It's what I do. Praise Him.
our situation, our life before God. Maybe someone here tonight, when you consider your situation before God in light of this message, you need to know whether or not you really have accepted Jesus Christ in your heart. And maybe you haven't. You have never accepted Christ as your personal Savior. This moment presents you with an opportunity to come and accept the Lord Jesus Christ as your personal Savior. Place your faith in Him, to trust that He went to the cross and died for your sin. And because He died for your sin, you can enter into a right relationship with God. And you can sing with the rest of us, praise is what I do, worship is what I do, because of what God has done for you. I'm glad I came tonight. The Lord spoke to my heart. And I know that you're glad. And the Lord has spoken to you and encouraged you along the way. And I've shared with you. No matter what you're going through, what you're facing, what is involved in your life, you don't have to understand it. God does not choose to give us explanation, but He chooses to give us consolation. Amen. 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 Did you hear what I said? God will not necessarily give you explanation, but God will always give you consolation. You want to give you the consolation tonight to know that you have entered into a right relationship with Him. Your eternal destiny has already been established because of what Jesus did. You can come and accept the Lord Jesus Christ as your personal Savior. You may say, well, Reverend, I want to accept Christ, but I don't want to be a member of this church. I'm not asking you to be a member of this church. I'm asking you to be a disciple of Christ. You accept Christ as your personal Savior. Place your faith in Him. Believe that what He did on that cross was for your sake. It liberated you from the power of darkness, from the power of sin. You can claim that sonship with God. You can come by that, by Christian experience. As a candidate for baptism, maybe you've been out of fellowship. God has given you an opportunity right now to have that fellowship restored. If that's the case with you, I do ask that you would come and say yes to the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. God bless you tonight. Lord, keep you. Thank God for the servant of God. Amen.